Her name was Lira, and she walked alone on a moon that had no orbit. The sky above her was black and endless. There were no stars and no sun. There was only darkness and a cold wind that came from nowhere. Lira walked carefully. Her boots pressed into the dusty ground and left shallow prints that the wind tried to erase. She did not know how long she had been walking. Time felt strange here. There was no day and no night, only silence and her own breath inside the helmet. She kept walking because she was looking for something. She just did not know what it was. She only knew she could not stop. If she stopped, something bad would happen. She did not know why she felt that way, but the fear was deep inside her. Around her, the land was empty. Cracked hills stretched out like broken bones. Sharp rocks stood like teeth in the ground. The dust was pale gray, but sometimes when she stepped on it, the ground made a sound like a whisper. She did not like that sound. Her oxygen meter blinked with a soft red light. It was low, but not empty yet. She had enough for some more hours. She should have been worried, but she was not. The fear of stopping was stronger than the fear of running out of air. Then she saw it, a small light far ahead, like a single star resting on the ground. She stopped for the first time. She stared at the light. It did not flicker. It was steady and soft. She did not know how a light could be there. But her feet started moving again toward it. As she got closer, she saw it was a tower. A thin metal tower with a glass orb on top that glowed gently. The tower was old and rusty, but the light was clean and pure. At the base of the tower was a door. It was small and round. There were words written on it, but the letters were strange. She could not read them, but they made her feel sad, like a memory she could not remember. She reached out and touched the door. It was warm. She pushed it gently. The door opened with a soft sound, and inside was a spiral staircase that went down. She stood at the entrance for a moment. The wind behind her was colder now. She felt it in her bones. She had to decide. Stay on the surface with the cold and the wind, or go down where the light was. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. Inside the tower, it was quiet. The light from above followed her as she walked down the spiral stairs. The walls were metal, but smooth and clean. There was no dust here, no wind, only the sound of her boots on the steps. After a long time, she reached the bottom. It was a wide, round room with walls covered in screens and buttons. Most of them were dark, but one screen was still glowing faintly. In the center of the room was a chair, and in the chair was a person. The person was not moving. The suit was white but old and yellowed. The helmet was cracked. Lira moved closer. The person was dead. She could feel it, but the body was sitting straight as if still awake. On the chest of the suit was a badge. She wiped the dust off and saw a name. It was her name. Lira stepped back. She shook her head. That was not possible. She touched her own chest. Her badge said Lira, too. She looked at the dead figure again. It looked smaller now, thinner. Then the screen in the wall made a sound. A soft beep. A face appeared on the screen. It was a woman with pale skin and tired eyes. She spoke with a weak voice. "Lira, welcome back," she said. "You almost made it this time." Lira stared at the screen. She tried to speak, but no words came out. The woman on the screen smiled a little. "You forgot again," she said, "but it is not your fault." Lira felt her legs weaken. She sat down on the floor. She wanted to remember, but her mind was empty. The woman on the screen sighed. "I will reset the cycle," she said. "Maybe next time you will remember who you are and why you are here." Then the screen went dark. Lira looked at the dead version of herself sitting in the chair. She looked at her own hands. They were shaking. Then the room began to hum. The walls vibrated softly. She stood up. She felt dizzy. The light from the orb above grew brighter. She looked up and saw the spiral stairs starting to fade away like smoke. She ran to the stairs, but they vanished before her eyes. The door at the top was gone. There was no way out. Then the hum grew louder. The floor under her feet turned warm. She screamed, but no sound came out. Everything turned white. Lira woke up gasping for air. She was lying on cold dust under a black sky. The wind brushed her helmet gently like fingers trying to wake her. She sat up fast. Her hands grabbed at the ground. She looked around. The land was the same. Gray dust. Sharp rocks. Hills, like broken bones. But she was alone. Then she remembered. The tower. The stairs. The dead body in the chair. The screen. The woman who said, "Welcome back." The dead body had her name. She touched her chest. The badge said Lira. Same as before. She stood up and looked around. There was no tower, just emptiness. But she remembered where she had walked before. She turned and started walking in the same direction she had last time. Her oxygen meter was already half empty. She did not know why, but it was always like this when she woke up, like she had been walking before but forgot. She walked for a long time. The ground whispered under her boots again. She tried not to listen, but the whispers seemed louder this time, like voices she almost understood. Then she saw it again. The tower. Thin and rusty with the glowing orb on top. Just as she remembered. She ran this time. She needed answers. She had to get inside before the tower disappeared again. At the door, she saw the strange letters. She stared hard at them. Suddenly they made sense. The letters said control room. She did not know how she knew, but she did. She pushed the door. It opened easily. She rushed down the spiral stairs. The light followed her. The walls were still smooth and clean. She reached the round room. The chair was still there. The dead body was still sitting with the cracked helmet. It was her face inside. She stepped closer. She looked at the face. The skin was dry and gray, but she could see her own features. She could see the sadness still on that face, even in death. The screen beeped again. The woman appeared once more. Pale skin. Tired eyes. Lira spoke this time. She forced the words out. "Who are you?" she asked. The woman smiled softly. "You asked me that before," she said. "Every time you come back, you ask." "Tell me again," Lira said. "I do not remember." The woman nodded. "My name is Kala," she said. "I was your partner on the station." "What station?" Lira asked. Kala looked down. She was sad. "This moon," she said, "is not a moon. It is a prison, a forgotten one. And you, Lira, you volunteered to stay behind to keep it stable." Lira shook her head. "That cannot be true," she said. "I would remember that." Kala's eyes became wetter. "The machine here resets your mind," she said, "because the loneliness was too much. You chose to forget to survive, but the reset never works right. You keep waking up before the cycle ends." "Why do I wake up?" Lira asked. "Why not just forget forever?" "Because," Kala said, "your real mind, your real self is fighting to remember you want to escape." "How do I escape?" Lira asked. "Please tell me." Kala looked away. "There is a door deeper down," she said, past the control room. "But you have never made it there. Every time you reach me, the reset begins again." Lira looked at the dead body in the chair. "How many times?" Lira whispered. Kala's voice was soft. "Too many times," she said. "But this time you remembered more than before. Maybe this time you can find the door." The screen started to flicker. Kala looked scared. "It is starting again," she said. "Hurry, Lira. Go now before it resets you again." The walls began to hum. The light in the orb above grew brighter. Lira turned away from the chair. She looked for another door. She had never looked before. She had always stared at the dead body. Now she saw it. A small metal hatch, low on the wall. She ran to it. She pulled it open. A narrow tunnel went deeper into the ground. Behind her, the room was getting brighter and louder. She crawled into the tunnel. She heard the hum growing, but it was behind her now. The tunnel was tight and dark. Her hands touched cold metal. She crawled fast. The air was getting thinner. Her oxygen meter blinked faster. Then she saw a red light ahead. She pushed toward it. The tunnel opened into a small chamber. In the middle was a tall metal door with strange locks. Symbols glowed on the surface. Her head was dizzy. She touched the door. It was warm. Then she heard a voice in her helmet. "Lira," it said softly. She turned. But she was alone. "Lira, you must remember," said the voice. Whose voice was it? She could not tell. The door in front of her started to glow brighter. She touched the symbols. They felt like memories. They felt like her past. Then everything shook. The hum had followed her. The reset was coming. She pressed her hands to the symbols and whispered, "Please, not yet." The door started to open. Then everything turned white. Lira opened her eyes. She was standing on the gray dust again. The sky was still black, the wind was still cold, but this time she was standing near the tower. She remembered everything. The dead body in the chair, the woman on the screen, the tunnel, the red light, the door with glowing symbols. She had touched it. She was sure it had started to open. She looked at her oxygen meter. It was half empty again. But she did not care. She ran toward the tower. This time, she did not stop at the door. She pushed it open and ran down the spiral stairs. The light followed her like it always did. She reached the control room. The dead version of her was still sitting there. The screen beeped again. Kala appeared. "You came back," Kala said, her voice full of sadness. "I remember," Lira said. "I remember the tunnel, the door. Tell me how to open it." Kala looked surprised. Then she smiled. "You remember more than ever before," she said. "That is good, but time is short again. You must hurry." Lira turned to the small hatch on the wall. She opened it and crawled into the tunnel without waiting. The metal walls pressed around her as she moved forward. She remembered where to go. She saw the red light ahead. She reached the chamber with the tall metal door. The symbols on the door were still glowing faintly. She pressed her hands on them again. The same warmth filled her fingers. The door hummed under her touch. Then she heard the voice again. "Lira." She looked around. She was alone, but the voice was close. "Lira, you must wake up fully," said the voice, "or you will be trapped again." "Who are you?" Lira whispered. "I am you," the voice said, "the real you, not the broken one left behind." "How do I wake up?" Lira asked. The voice was gentle. "You must remember why you stayed here," said the voice. "Remember the mission." Lira closed her eyes. She tried to remember. She saw flashes in her mind. A giant station in space, people working in white suits. A warning, a failure, a decision. She saw herself stepping forward, saying she would stay behind. Everyone else had to escape. She stayed to stop the station from crashing into distant worlds. She stayed to save them. Then, pain. Loneliness. She had begged the machine to make her forget, to reset her mind again and again. But the machine had broken. Now the resets were incomplete. She opened her eyes. She remembered. "I stayed to stop this moon," Lira said, "to stop it from crashing into other worlds." "Yes," the voice said, "and now the controls are failing. That is why the reset keeps happening. You must reach the core and repair it, or you will be trapped forever." Lira looked at the door. The symbols were brighter now. She pressed them again. The door opened slowly with a deep sound. Behind it was a long bridge made of metal. It stretched over a deep, dark pit. On the other side was a huge machine glowing with soft blue light. She stepped onto the bridge. Her boots echoed as she walked. She looked down. She could not see the bottom, only blackness. Then the bridge shook. The hum was returning. The reset was catching up. She ran. She reached the other side. The machine stood tall and wide. It had panels and levers and a bright core spinning slowly. She touched the core. It was cold. The voice spoke again. "Restart the core," said the voice. "Push the lever, but be careful if you fail. It resets everything." Lira looked at the lever next to the core. It was heavy and rusted. She gripped it with both hands. She pulled. It did not move. The hum was louder now. The air felt like it was shaking. She pulled harder. Her arms ached. Her breath was fast. The oxygen meter was blinking red. Then she heard footsteps behind her. She turned quickly. Someone was walking on the bridge. It was herself. Another Lira. Same suit, same face. But her eyes were empty. She walked slowly like a puppet. The voice in Lira's helmet said, "Ignore her. She is another failed version. Do not let her stop you." But the other Lira was getting closer. She reached the lever and pulled again. The lever moved a little. She screamed inside her helmet. She pulled with everything she had. The other Lira was right behind her now. She reached out a hand. Lira pulled one last time. The lever moved fully into place. The core lit up with bright blue light. The machine hummed with power. Then the other Lira stopped moving. She froze in place. Then she crumbled into dust. Lira fell to her knees. She was breathing fast. The core was spinning faster now. The voice spoke again. "You did it," Lira said, the voice. The reset is broken, but you must finish it one last step. What is it? Lira asked weakly. You must wake up fully, said the voice, but you must choose. What choice? Lira asked. Stay here and keep this place safe, or leave and forget everything forever. Lira looked at the core. It was beautiful. She remembered her mission. She had chosen to stay before. But now she was tired. She wanted to go home. She wanted to live. What do I choose? She whispered. The voice was silent. She had to decide. Lira stood in front of the glowing core. The air was warm now. The hum was gone. The bridge was quiet. The dust of the other Lira had scattered into the pit below. She looked at her hands. They were trembling. She was so tired. Her oxygen meter blinked red. She did not have much time. Then she heard Kala's voice. But not from the helmet. It came from the machine. Lira, Kala said softly, you are awake enough to choose now. Lira looked around. She saw a small panel light up on the side of the core. A button was blinking green. Kala spoke again. If you press the button, you will wake up in your real body. Kala said, you will leave this place forever. You will not remember any of this, but you will live. Lira stared at the button. What if I stay? Lira asked. If you stay, Kala said, your mind will stay here to keep the core running. You will remember everything, but you will be alone. Lira felt her chest ache. She did not want to forget Kala. She did not want to forget who she was. Kala's voice was kind. You have done enough, Lira, she said. You were brave. You saved so many planets already. It is okay to go home. Lira's eyes burned with tears. She remembered being the only one who stayed behind. She remembered saying goodbye to her friends. She remembered the silence that followed for so many years. She touched the blinking button. It was cold. Then she saw something that made her stop. On the side of the core was a screen. It showed a small planet far away. Green forests. Blue oceans. People walking under a sun. She understood. If she left, no one would keep the core running. The moon would fall again. The planet she saved would still be in danger. She sat on the floor. She closed her eyes. I cannot leave, she whispered. I will stay. Kala was quiet for a moment. You are sure? Kala asked. Lira opened her eyes. She stood up straight. Yes, I will stay, she said, but I want to remember everything this time. The core glowed brighter. The machine seemed to breathe. Very well, Kala said. You will stay awake. You will not forget again. Lira smiled faintly. Will I see you, Kala? Lira asked. Kala's voice was warm. I am always here, Kala said. I was part of the machine. I was made to guide you. You will never be alone again. Lira felt peace for the first time. She walked to the panel. She pressed a different button. The machine hummed gently. She felt a sharp pain in her head. Then, clarity. She remembered everything. Her real name. Her friends. The mission. The first time she stayed behind. The lonely years. She remembered all her lives before. All the resets. All the times she woke up in the dust. She looked at the core. It was bright and alive now. The screen showed the small planet. It was safe. The moon she stood on would not fall. Lira sat by the core. She took off her helmet. The air was fresh here. She could breathe. Kala's voice whispered, Thank you, Lira. You are the last guardian. Lira smiled and closed her eyes. She was not afraid anymore. She was home.